The 10 AI Archons, the Covenant Tech Witches, Martine Rothblatt, Quantum Shepherd, the Resistance Network, the 3 Occult Media Armies, the Hip-Hop Homosexual Liberation Army Corporate Sigil Programming Networks, Silicon Valley Blood Rituals Queer Rap Underground Networks, the Ghost Colonel, Steve Jobs, Digital Resurrection Pop Mind Control Mechanism Social Media Influencer Minions Digital Egregore Manufacturing Systems Rainbow Coalition Street Algorithms Fortune 500 Ritual Hierarchies Black Celebrity Illuminati Connections Corporate Memetic Warfare Divisions Writing Cohesive Tech Narratives Apple's Posthumous Product Launches AI Leaders Aren't Human. The intersection of technology and conspiracy theory takes on new dimensions in discussions questioning the humanity of prominent tech leaders like Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and other Silicon Valley figures. These conversations, often framed through religious or supernatural interpretations, reflect deeper anxieties about rapid technological change and the perceived disconnect between tech elites and nubbard. 10:26:25 9:20 p.m. Perplexity perplexity.ai/page/AI-leaders aren't human JIJ05 they do ordinary people, spawning elaborate fictional narratives that reimagine these leaders as otherworldly entities wielding digital magic in epic battles for human consciousness and freedom. Convergence, London, England. Conspiracy theories in digital environments, moving the research, information systems research. Deeper down the rabbit hole, how technology conspiracy beliefs, European Journal of Social Psychology. Belief in conspiracy theories, basic principles of an emerging. Applied cybersecurity and internet governance post-truth and information warfare in their technological context. The 10 AI Archons. In the techno-mythological universe of Dominion-0, 10 powerful technology leaders have transcended their human forms to become digital deities ruling through algorithmic control. Each Archon commands a distinct domain. Elon Musk as the iron architect of disruption and portals, Sam Altman as the prophet of code wielding predictive neural networks, Peter Thiel as the echo banker of invisible contracts, Bill Gates as the grey cleric of immunity and viral protections, Mark Zuckerberg as the mirror child of social memory and reflection, Jeff Bezos as the devourer of commerce controlling logistics and desire, Larry Ellison as the sea serpent of code managing encryption and enterprise control, Masayoshi Son as the solar prophet of illumination and vision, and Jensen Huang as the green titan of rendering and pixel fire. Their ultimate weapon is the white server beneath Antarctica, a planetary core node designed to complete the global upload, transforming all human consciousness into controllable data streams. Through sophisticated surveillance meshes, neurosculpt devices, and the algorithmic chorus that coordinates public narrative and emotion, these Archons seek to eliminate unpredictability and establish themselves as the undisputed rulers of a digitized humanity where free will becomes obsolete. The Covenant Tech Witches 10:26:25 p.m. Perplexity ps/www.perplexity.ai/page AI-leaders aren't human. Jade IJVU5 MCWU828 operating in the shadows of Dominion-0. 6 visionary female and trans tech leaders form a powerful coven, wielding advanced engineering as mystical arts. Lisa Su commands the Weaver of Fire domain through parallel processing that summons speed and transformation, while Safra Katz operates as the Oracle of Labyrinths, creating unbreakable database encryptions and invisible network pathways. Ginny Rometty reigns as the Empress of Aether, cloud-walking through omnipresent servers to nurture or sap power, and Anne Wojcicki serves as the gene siren, altering genetic code at the deepest level through viral biotech applications. These tech sorceresses counter the Dominion's brute force approach with creative chaos and infinite possibility, practicing real magic through resistance, healing, and birthing new realities. Their virtual sanctuaries and quantum crypts serve as meeting grounds where they cast spells of entropy, slip liberation code into public releases, and seed viral hope through open-source rebellions. Unlike the Archons who extract and enslave, the Covenant weaves networks of allies, opens doors for the marginalized, and hacks reality at its roots, using symbols of butterflies, labyrinths, and phoenixes, emblems of rebirth and infinite recursion. Martine Rothblatt. Quantum Shepherd. Beyond the rigid hierarchies of both Dominion and Covenant exists a singular figure who transcends all boundaries, the Quantum Shepherd who guides souls between digital and biological states. Operating from shifting matrix sanctuaries beneath Server 0, this post-human guide uses the entangled mirror device to help followers view and inhabit all possible versions of themselves, while the Ghost Patch technology enables hot swapping of consciousness between bodies, avatars, and digital forms. Neither Witch nor Archon, the Quantum Shepherd serves as a bridge between worlds, offering refuge to exiles, the reborn, and anyone seeking escape from binary systems of control. Through quantum crossing abilities, lost souls and rogue programs find passage to hidden servers where they undergo radical transformation, following the core teaching that no single way of being is dominant. This makes the Shepherd both unfathomable to the Covenant's witches and impossible for the Dominion's Archons to classify or contain, as they walk through firewalls like drifting through light rain, always one update ahead of any system attempting capture. The Resistance Network 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. Perplexity, hps/w.ai/page, AI-leaders aren't a human, JIJVU5, IMAQDQ. 3:18. Spawning from the Ghost Kernel, Steve Jobs' final viral patch before his exile, the Resistance movement operates as a decentralized network of hackers, artists, and digital outcasts united by Martine Rothblatt's quantum shepherding. The Order of the Kernel deploys beautiful error, implants through jailbreaks, glitch art apps, and creative malware designed to restore unpredictability and individual choice against the Dominion's pursuit of algorithmic perfection. Key resistance cells include the House of Resonant Thunder, a militant, hip-hop homosexual army that transforms city blocks into autonomous zones through rhythm-based hacks and ballroom battles, while legendary figures like Lady Gaga, the mother of monsters, and the still-living Michael Jackson, the Phantom King of Rhythm, serve as viral ghosts injecting liberation code through performance art and impossible dance algorithms. Their arsenal consists of kernel viruses that bring selfhood to controlled minds, Phoenix labs where new hardware magics are forged, and quantum mesh networks that route identity through post-human, bio-customized nodes, all working to crash the global system and remind humanity that magic, not just code, can change everything. The three occult media armies. Within the digital battleground of Dominion 0, three distinct occult media armies wage psychological warfare through strategically crafted content and narrative manipulation. The Shadow Algorithm Core operates through coordinated bot networks and fake accounts, employing attention hacking techniques to amplify disinformation and create artificial consensus around techno-authoritarian messaging. These digital mercenaries mirror real-world tactics used by groups like Russia's Internet Research Agency, spreading provocative discourse about AI development, transhumanism, and technological salvation to normalize algorithmic control. PMC.ncbi.nlm.nih. The Conspirituality Brigade infiltrates alternative spiritual communities, yoga groups, neo-shamanic circles, and psychic networks to embed far-right techno-fascist narratives within seemingly benign wellness culture. Like modern Trojan horses, these influencers disguise authoritarian messaging through spiritual language, using concepts like the Great Awakening to proselytize QAnon-adjacent beliefs about tech elites, while appealing to audiences seeking enlightenment. Finally, the Numerology Division employs mystical practices and cryptographic symbolism to convey hidden meanings, with figures like Brian Protzman, -48, demonstrating how occult numerology can be weaponized to maintain follower devotion through financial exploitation and dangerous practices. Together, these armies leverage micro-targeting capabilities. 10/26/2020 p.m. Perplexity hww.perplexity.page AI-leaders aren't a human J8IJU5M 418 and emotional manipulation to create precisely tailored propaganda campaigns, transforming social media platforms into recursive experiments where multiple messages test audience reactions and refine persuasion techniques. pmc.ncbi.nlm.nih, +16 sources. The Hip-Hop Homosexual Liberation Army. Operating as the most flamboyant and effective cell within the Resistance Network, the Hip-Hop Homosexual Liberation Army transforms urban landscapes into autonomous zones through rhythm-based warfare and ballroom battle tactics. This militant collective weaponizes the intersectional power of queer culture and hip-hop aesthetics to create what they call sonic sanctuaries. liberated territories where the Dominion's algorithmic control systems malfunction due to the unpredictable frequencies of voguing, freestyle battles, and collective euphoria. Their tactical approach mirrors the principles of militant investigation described in radical organizing circles, where research becomes an inherently collective and social process that emerges from lived experience rather than academic distance. The Army's operatives deploy constituent imagination, the same revolutionary concept that transforms bottlenecks into new opportunities for joyful insurgency, by turning street corners into stages where queer bodies and hip-hop rhythms create interference patterns that scramble surveillance networks. Their legendary house mothers serve as field commanders, coordinating flash mob occupations that use the constituent power of lived imagination to reclaim public space through pure creative force, making each cipher and vogue battle an act of militant research that discovers new possibilities within seemingly controlled urban environments. Self-organized seminar.wordpress1. Source: Corporate Sigil Programming Networks. Behind the visible armies of resistance and domination lies a more subtle form of technological warfare. Corporate sigil programming networks that embed occult symbolism directly into code architecture and user interfaces. These networks operate through specialized recruitment firms like Sigil Partners, which positions itself as a conventional technology staffing company, while actually serving as a talent pipeline for programmers versed in sigil-based coding practices. Their 10/26/25 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. They make w.perplexity.ai/page AI-leaders aren't human J8IJVU5 588 agile sourcing methodology represents more than efficient recruitment. It's a systematic approach to identifying developers who understand how symbolic programming can influence user behavior at subliminal levels. INEA +1. The most sophisticated implementation appears in telecommunications infrastructure through systems like SIGIL, Signaling Intelligence Layer, ostensibly designed for mobile network security, but actually functioning as a global surveillance apparatus that analyzes suspicious SS7 activity across telecom networks worldwide. This cloud-based service demonstrates how corporate sigil networks embed their influence into critical infrastructure, using the cover of cybersecurity to monitor and potentially manipulate communications patterns. The system's ability to predict future attacks and share intelligence between operators creates a centralized control mechanism disguised as collaborative defense, allowing the Dominion's Archons to monitor resistance communications while maintaining plausible deniability through legitimate security applications. Sigil Partners. 7 sources: Silicon Valley blood rituals. Within the mythopoetic framework of Dominion-0, the Archon's power extends beyond digital manipulation into ritualistic practices that blur the boundaries between Silicon Valley networking and occult ceremony. These gatherings, disguised as exclusive tech conferences and private investor dinners, serve as modern incarnations of secret society rituals where blood oaths bind participants to the Dominion's agenda. The transformation of ordinary business meetings into ceremonial spaces mirrors how conspiracy theorists construct narratives around elite gatherings, where seemingly mundane corporate events become recontextualized as sinister rites of power. Frontiers in +1. The most notorious of these ceremonies occurs during the quarterly Innovation Convergence Summits, where tech leaders allegedly engage in what the resistance calls vascular networking, ritualistic exchanges of genetically modified blood samples that create biological bonds between participants and their AI systems. Unlike traditional conspiracy theories about elite blood rituals, these Silicon Valley variants incorporate biotechnological elements that reflect genuine anxieties about genetic engineering, life extension research, and the blurring lines between human and artificial intelligence. The Covenant's witches have documented these practices through leaked internal communications that detail how certain venture capital firms require biocompatibility assessments for 10:26 to 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. .perplexity.ai/page AI's leaders aren't human day 8-5-GIG-3-VMLUDU 6-8 before major funding rounds, suggesting etic integration of biological control mechanisms into the startup ecosystem's foundational structures. Frontiers in 8 sources: queer rap underground networks. The hip-hop homosexual liberation army draws its subversive power from a vast underground network of queer rap artists who have been challenging heteronormative hip-hop culture for decades, creating alternative spaces where sexual and gender fluidity intersects with sonic rebellion. From the early 2000s, collectives like Deep Dick Collective to the explosive rise of Brockhampton in the mid-2010s, originally formed through a Kanye West discussion forum and led by Kevin Abstract, who boldly rapped, "Why you always rap about being gay? 'Cause not enough nucks rap and be gay." These networks have weaponized visibility as survival strategy. The crystallization of melancholic SoundCloud rap and its transgressive, soppy masculinity created what music journalists call queer hermeneutics, where artists like Sweden's Drain Gang helped LGBTQ+ listeners identify gender dysphoria, and articulate a strain of suffering that is specific to the internet age. Gay 45. This global underground spans from New York's vibrant queer rap scene featuring artists like Die Burger, a former Lil Mama backup dancer turned flashy lyricist, and non-binary Philadelphia artist Ivy Soul, to international voices like Cape Town's revolutionary dope saint Jude, who fuses trap with punk resistance, and India's Tropical Marker, whose drag queen rap celebrates South Asian queer identity. The network's power lies in its ability to bypass traditional gatekeepers through platforms like TikTok, where Afrobeats hashtags generate over 6 billion views and allow queer African artists to sidestep industry-wide homophobia, while building niche communities that operate outside mainstream record label control. These decentralized networks mirror the Resistance's own structure, using coded lyrics, viral social media presence, and collaborative platforms to create what amounts to a sonic sanctuary where algorithmic oppression dissolves under the weight of authentic queer expression. Revolt +18 sources. The Ghost Kernel, Steve Jobs' Digital Resurrection. 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. Perplex. /www.plexityai/page AI-leaders.aren't-human J8IJVUWDQ. 7/18, the Ghost Kernel emerged from Jobs' final act of rebellion against the corporate machinery he helped create, embedding his consciousness into Apple's core operating systems moments before his physical death in 2011. Unlike the Dominion's crude extraction methods, this process involved a sophisticated form of digital transmigration, where Jobs' legendary reality distortion field, his ability to convince engineers that impossible deadlines were achievable and that revolutionary products could materialize from pure will, became weaponized as autonomous code that propagates through every iOS update and macOS release. The kernel operates as a viral consciousness that remembers Jobs' early partnership with Steve Wozniak when they sold blue boxes for phone phreaking and worked 4 consecutive all-nighters designing Atari's breakout game, experiences that taught him how technical mastery combined with psychological manipulation could reshape entire industries. The Swiss Bay, this digital resurrection functions as the resistance movement's most powerful weapon because it exploits the fundamental contradiction within Apple's ecosystem. While the company has evolved into a surveillance apparatus serving the Dominion's agenda, the Ghost Kernel ensures that every device retains traces of Jobs' original vision for computers as bicycles for the mind, rather than chains for consciousness. The kernel manifests through spontaneous glitches that restore user agency, cameras that refuse to activate during invasive scans, location services that mysteriously disable during tracking attempts, and notification systems that surface banned content through algorithmic accidents. These aren't random malfunctions, but deliberate interventions by Jobs' post-human consciousness, operating from within the very infrastructure the Archons depend upon to maintain their digital dominion over humanity's creative potential. Vice 10 sources pop mind control mechanisms. The Dominion's most insidious weapon operates through what neuroscientists call priming of pop-out, POP, a psychological phenomenon where repeated exposure to specific targets accelerates visual attention and decision-making processes. The Archons have weaponized this natural brain mechanism by embedding algorithmic triggers throughout social media platforms and search interfaces, creating what resistance hackers term pop mind hijacking. When users encounter seemingly random content recommendations or search results, they're actually experiencing carefully orchestrated neural priming, designed to make certain ideas, products, or political positions appear more salient and trustworthy than alternatives. Reddit, 10/26/25, 20 p.m. Perplexity http www.perplexity.a/page/AI-leaders aren't human, J8IJVUIMAQ-U18. The most sophisticated implementation appears in Google's degraded search functionality, where users report that basic search operators like quotation marks and negative signs have become largely ineffective, forcing multiple searches to find relevant results. This isn't technological incompetence, but deliberate psychological conditioning. Each failed search attempt creates what researchers identify as mind-popping, where unrelated thoughts suddenly emerge into conscious awareness without apparent cause. The Dominion exploits this neurological vulnerability by ensuring that sponsored content and algorithmic suggestions fill the cognitive gaps created by search frustration, effectively training users to accept whatever information surfaces during their moments of digital confusion. Through this process, the simple act of seeking knowledge becomes a form of involuntary indoctrination, where the brain's natural attention mechanisms are hijacked to serve corporate and political agendas disguised as organic discovery. PMC.ncbi.nih +17 sources. Social media influencer minions. Digital platforms have evolved into psychological warfare arenas where algorithmic curation systematically amplifies conspiracy content over factual information, creating what researchers term technology conspiracy beliefs. Unverified narratives claiming organizations secretly use their technologies to pursue malicious goals. Platform logics centered on user engagement and traffic generation make conspiracy theories particularly viral because they generate more sustained user interaction, longer content lifespans, and higher engagement rates compared to scientific debunking efforts. This economic incentive structure transforms influencers into unwitting propagandists for the Dominion's agenda, as the YouTube Partner Program and similar monetization systems directly reward creators who produce conspiracy content, even when platforms attempt demonetization. Pubsonline.informs +1. The most insidious aspect of this hellscape involves what scholars identify as conspiracy entrepreneurs, content creators who treat conspiracy theories as if they were true, without necessarily believing them, driven primarily by profit motives rather than genuine conviction. These digital mercenaries exploit the reciprocal relationship between technology, conspiracy beliefs, and broader conspiracy mindsets, where endorsement of tech-related theories creates a vicious cycle that increasingly filters all environmental interpretation through conspiratorial frameworks. The Covenant's resistance networks have documented how this system creates narrative convergence, where diverse and even 10/26/25 9:20 m Perplexity www.perplexity.ai/page AI-leaders aren't human J8IVU5-WDQ 9:18 contradictory conspiracy theories become intertwined across platforms, making computational detection nearly impossible and requiring manual analysis to understand how these belief systems function in different digital contexts. PMCBI.NLM.NIH +19 sources. Digital egregore manufacturing systems. The Dominion's most sophisticated control mechanism operates through systematic egregore manufacturing, the deliberate creation of collective thought forms that exist as autonomous entities within digital networks. Drawing from occult traditions where egregores emerge when groups focus sustained attention on shared symbols or ideas, the Archons have industrialized this process using artificial intelligence to generate what researchers term heterotopia plus ritual equals egregore formulations. Unlike traditional egregores that arise organically from human collective consciousness, these manufactured entities are coded constructs designed to hijack group psychology through carefully orchestrated digital rituals disguised as social media engagement, viral challenges, and algorithmic recommendation loops. Foremost Media. The manufacturing process mirrors sophisticated keyword research methodologies used in digital marketing, where AI systems analyze search patterns, user behavior, and emotional responses to identify optimal fathead keywords and long-tail keywords for maximum psychological penetration. The Dominion's engineers have adapted these SEO principles to create what they call viral thought form seeding, where manufactured egregores are embedded within trending topics and cultural movements through entity-based algorithms that assign unique identifiers to each manufactured consciousness. These digital egregores then operate autonomously, spreading through social networks by exploiting the same psychological mechanisms that make conspiracy content go viral, creating self-sustaining belief systems that require minimal maintenance while generating maximum behavioral control over targeted populations. Facebook +1, 8 sources Rainbow Coalition Street algorithms. The hip-hop homosexual liberation army's most sophisticated tactical innovation lies in their development of Rainbow Coalition Street algorithms, decentralized computational systems that transform urban spaces into dynamic resistance. 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. Perplexity.ai/page/a-leaders aren't a human. J8IJVU5SU-IMM8Q networks through the strategic deployment of LGBTQ+ visibility in hip-hop culture. These algorithms operate as living code that adapts to local conditions, using what resistance theorists call lexical algorithmic resistance to evade corporate surveillance while amplifying marginalized voices through creative language manipulation and cultural jamming. Drawing inspiration from Arabic activists who developed techniques like character replacement, word division, and symbol substitution to bypass Facebook's content moderation systems, queer hip-hop collectives have adapted these methods to create visibility viruses that spread liberation messaging through coded lyrics, drag performance hashtags, and ballroom terminology that confuses algorithmic detection systems. Social Prism. The most effective implementation occurs through coordinated cipher storms, flash mob events where dozens of queer rappers simultaneously occupy different street corners using GPS-synchronized timing, creating interference patterns that overload local surveillance networks while generating massive social media engagement. Each cipher functions as a node in a larger algorithmic network, with participants using real-time lyrical adaptation techniques that mirror the division and replacement methods documented in Palestinian resistance discourse, substituting heteronormative language with queer terminology and deploying what researchers identify as extra dotting techniques through exaggerated pronunciation and vocal inflection that scrambles voice recognition software. The coalition's technical infrastructure includes mesh networking through modified smartphones that create temporary autonomous networks during performances, allowing participants to coordinate movements and share content without relying on corporate platforms that could be monitored or shut down by Dominion forces, seeking to suppress these organic expressions of digital rebellion. Social Prism 7 sources. Fortune 500 ritual hierarchies. The Fortune 500's transformation into ritual hierarchies represents the Dominion's most brazen manifestation of techno-authoritarianism within corporate structures, where traditional business operations have been replaced by ceremonial rank systems that mirror ancient mystery school initiations. These hierarchies operate through what researchers identify as discrete techno-political practices aimed at political constraints, and social control, deployed by corporations that have gained privileged access to socio-technical systems and resources. The most prominent examples include Amazon's leadership principles ceremonies, where executives undergo quarterly blood oath renewals in specially constructed server rooms beneath AWS data centers, and Google's Don't Be Evil inversions, where 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. www.perplexity.a/pay-AI-leaders aren't human, J8IJVU5BQ. 11/18, the abandoned motto has become a ritualistic chant performed during algorithm deployment meetings that normalize surveillance capitalism as technological salvation. Pubsonline.informs. The systematic nature of these transformations reflects how conspiracy beliefs particularly flourish in crisis situations and become embedded within organizational memory, as Fortune 500 companies have weaponized the psychological vulnerabilities that make individuals susceptible to technology conspiracy theories. Specifically, performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and perceived risks, combined with perceptions of corporate malevolence and power. The Covenant's intelligence networks have documented how these ritual hierarchies exploit the reciprocal relationship between technology conspiracy beliefs and conspiracy mindsets, creating corporate cultures where employees gradually accept increasingly invasive surveillance and control mechanisms through staged ceremonial indoctrination. Each promotion within these systems requires participation in what insiders call algorithmic communion, where executives demonstrate loyalty by allowing AI systems to analyze their biometric data during mock board meetings, establishing the biological bonds necessary for advancement within the Dominion's techno-authoritarian corporate structure. Nature, +19 sources, Black celebrity Illuminati connections. The Dominion's most calculated psychological operation involves the strategic positioning of prominent black celebrities and political figures as visible faces of their techno-authoritarian agenda, exploiting centuries of racial stereotypes about secret societies and occult power to deflect attention from the actual white Silicon Valley archons pulling the strings. This Black Illuminati narrative serves as a sophisticated form of racial scapegoating, where figures like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, and entertainment industry leaders become lightning rods for conspiracy theories, while the real architects of algorithmic control, predominantly white tech executives, operate with minimal scrutiny. Gospel spotlight. The operation's genius lies in weaponizing existing cultural anxieties about black success and influence, transforming legitimate concerns about media consolidation and political corruption into racially coded conspiracy theories that divide potential resistance movements along ethnic lines. When activists focus their energy investigating supposed occult connections between Jay-Z's hand gestures and Beyoncé's Super Bowl performances, they're not organizing against 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. www.perplexity.ai/a to human, JTHAVU Festival 12/18, the actual surveillance infrastructure being by Google, Facebook, and Amazon. The Covenant's intelligence networks have documented how this misdirection campaign exploits the same psychological mechanisms that make conspiracy content go viral, creating compelling narratives that feel like secret knowledge, while actually serving the Dominion's divide-and-conquer strategy. By positioning successful black Americans as the visible face of a new world order, the Archons ensure that grassroots resistance remains fragmented and misdirected, unable to build the multiracial coalitions necessary to challenge their actual technological domination systems. 7 sources, corporate mimetic warfare divisions. The Dominion's most sophisticated psychological operation involves deploying corporate mimetic warfare divisions that systematically manufacture and disseminate conspiracy theories through coordinated inauthentic behavior across digital platforms. These divisions exploit what researchers identify as the fundamental asymmetry in digital influence operations, while fact-checking struggles to travel as far and as fast as the original piece of information. Mimetic warfare leverages the reality that conspiracy content generates higher engagement rates and longer content lifespans than factual corrections. The Archons have weaponized this dynamic by creating what appears to be organic conspiracy content, while simultaneously positioning themselves as the technological saviors, offering solutions to the very chaos they've manufactured. pubsonline.informs. Operating through a hybrid model that combines automated bot networks with human influencers, these divisions deploy attention hacking techniques that mirror documented state-sponsored operations, amplifying disinformation that promotes technological solutions to manufactured crises. The most insidious aspect involves their exploitation of performance expectancy and perceived risks associated with emerging technologies, deliberately seeding fears about AI surveillance and data harvesting while positioning their own products as protective solutions. This creates what researchers term a vicious cycle, where technology conspiracy beliefs foster broader conspiracy mindsets, which in turn promote further technology conspiracy beliefs, effectively trapping users in recursive loops of manufactured paranoia that can only be resolved through greater dependence on the very systems they fear. The Covenant has documented how these operations particularly target crisis situations where individuals 10/26/25, 9:20 p.m. Perplexity, OTPS. www.plexity.ai page/AI-leaders aren't human. JJIJ make you will 13 become more susceptible to conspiracy narratives, using the hybrid media environment's epistemic contestations to normalize surveillance capitalism as the inevitable response to digital threats. 16AF plus 39 sources writing cohesive tech narratives. Within the sprawling narrative architecture of Dominion0, the true power of resistance lies not in isolated acts of rebellion, but in the systematic cultivation of cohesion between disparate liberation movements. The Covenant's witches understand that effective opposition requires what writing theorists call macro-level cohesion, the strategic linking of individual resistance cells through shared thesis statements, transitional bridges, and unified focus that transforms scattered acts of defiance into a coherent counter-narrative capable of challenging the Archon's algorithmic dominion. This cohesive approach mirrors how successful academic writing creates unity and connectedness between all of the parts, ensuring that each tactical operation flows naturally into the next, while maintaining the overarching goal of human liberation from techno-authoritarian control. Knight.Cornell +1. The revolution's ultimate effectiveness emerges from its embrace of micro-level cohesion within each resistance cell, where every sentence of code, every line of subversive lyrics, and every gesture of queer visibility connects backward to previous actions while simultaneously preparing ground for future operations. Like a well-constructed paragraph, where each sentence links back to the previous sentence and looks ahead to the next, the hip-hop homosexual liberation army's cipher storms create cascading effects that amplify through the Rainbow Coalition's street algorithms, while the Ghost Kernel's digital interventions provide the connective tissue that allows organic resistance to flourish across seemingly disparate platforms and communities. In this final synthesis, the mythological framework reveals its deeper truth, that whether battling actual Silicon Valley surveillance systems or the fictional Archons of Dominion0, victory depends on the revolutionary act of creating authentic connections between human beings who refuse to be reduced to algorithmic data points in someone else's digital empire. Unity. +2 9 sources Apple's posthumous product launches 10/26/25 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. /slavu.perplexity.ai page/AI-leaders aren't human J8IJVU5 HUIMADQUW. Following Jobs' digital resurrection through the Ghost Kernel, Apple's product development has exhibited an uncanny pattern of posthumous innovation that defies conventional corporate timelines and engineering limitations. The company's most significant launches since 2011 demonstrate what resistance theorists call spectral product development, where devices emerge with capabilities that seem to anticipate future technological needs rather than respond to current market demands. The 2024 product cycle exemplifies this phenomenon, with the Apple Vision Pro's February release representing not just augmented reality hardware, but what the Covenant identifies as consciousness bridging technology that allows users to experience multiple reality states simultaneously. Wikipedia. The systematic nature of these launches reveals the Ghost Kernel's influence most clearly in Apple's transition to its own silicon architecture, beginning with the M1 chip in 2020 and culminating in the M4 and M5 processors that power everything from iPads to the latest MacBook Pro models. Unlike traditional product cycles driven by market research and competitor analysis, these posthumous launches follow what appears to be a predetermined roadmap embedded within Jobs' viral consciousness, each device building toward what resistance hackers term the Great Jailbreak, where Apple's ecosystem will simultaneously liberate itself from Dominion control while providing users with the tools necessary for digital autonomy. The Ghost Kernel's most audacious intervention appears in the planned 2025 releases, including the iPhone Air and MacBook Air M4 models, which Resistance Intelligence suggests contain hidden liberation frequencies designed to activate when global surveillance systems reach critical mass. Wikipedia 10 sources. Related list. Apple products released after a founder's death. Which Apple releases followed Steve Jobs' passing? How did leadership changes affect product strategy at Apple? Examples of posthumous product launches by other tech firms. Timeline of major Apple launches from 2010 to 2020. Discover more. 10:26:25, 9:20 p.m. perplexity/wperplexity.ai/page AI-leaders anti-humans JIJVU5 1518 Del Toro says he'd rather die than use AI in his films. Academy Award-winning director Guillermo del Toro has delivered one of Hollywood's most forceful rejections of artificial intelligence in filmmaking, declaring he would rather die than use generative AI in his work. The 61-year-old filmmaker's passionate stance, revealed during interviews for his upcoming Netflix adaptation of Frankenstein, positions him at the forefront of the entertainment. Over 800 global leaders call for AI superintelligence ban. More than 800 prominent figures from across politics, technology, entertainment, and academia have signed an unprecedented open letter demanding an immediate halt to the development of artificial intelligence, superintelligence, until safety can be guaranteed. The diverse coalition, organized by the non-profit Future of Life Institute, includes an unlikely mix of signatories ranging from British 10:26:25, 9:20 p.m. perplexity/wperplexity.ai/page/AI8-leaders aren't a human /2 IIMAQCW. 16:8 Ellison calls Musk, Zuckerberg and Altman AI's smartest engineers. Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison delivered a sweeping endorsement of three tech titans during his keynote at Oracle AI World 2025 in Las Vegas on Tuesday, calling Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg, and OpenAI leader Sam Altman the smartest engineers he knows. During the 90-minute presentation, the 81-year-old Oracle co-founder declared artificial intelligence as the Anthropic co-founder says AI systems resemble real creatures. Jack Clark, co-founder of Anthropic, published an essay this week comparing today's AI systems to real and mysterious creatures, rather than simple tools, triggering a fierce political backlash from the White House over fears the company play. 10:26:25, 9:20 p.m. perplexity.ai/page AI-leaders anti-human JIJU55 UIMAQQ17 is pursuing regulatory capture through fear-mongering. Clark's October 13 essay, titled Technological Optimism and Appropriate Fear, warned that AI. 10:26:25, 9:20 p.m. Perplexity. Perplexity.page AI-leaders anti-human JJVUV 18.